Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka Mono Bluetron, back with another episode of 10-Minute Testing. So, you may be wondering why this one is going up so late today. It has a lot to do with the election, and after last night, I figure a lot of people probably woke up with red eyes and found the world burning around them. So what better deck to examine than REBD? So let's jump into Deck Edit and I'll show you the inconsistent garbage I have prepared for you today. So this is the list we settled on. Now, for those of you who don't know, Red Eyes Black Dragon is a deck that's been around forever, but much like a Donald Trump presidency, it doesn't really have any idea what it wants to do with itself. Now, that's because a lot of the support released is really at odds with each other. You've got this weird rank 7 generic Xyz, you have a bunch of fusion monsters, you have these Gemini cards, along with support like Wyvern, like Retro Dragon, like Black Metal Dragon, all of which do really weird things. Wyvern rewards you for not normal summoning. Black Metal Dragon equips to your monsters. You know, you combine that with a bunch of really powerful searching spells and traps that draw you into less powerful, actually activatable spells and traps, and the slowest advantage engine in the history of time, and you end up with a deck that just does too many things and none of them very well. However, with the release of INOV, I think I've found something that the deck is really good at consistently doing, and that is summoning Meteor Black Comet Dragon. Now, for those of you who don't know, this is a new release. He can be summoned off of Red Eyes Fusion, which is really great, and can send a Red Eyes Black Flare Dragon and a Meteor Dragon from your deck to the graveyard in order to make him. After you do that, you can send an additional dragon from the deck to the graveyard to dome your opponent for half of that monster's attack points. This is a very good card and has this weird pseudo protection where your opponent doesn't want to kill it because then you can special summon a Red Eyes from your graveyard. But the real fun is when you get to open Red Eyes Fusion plus Red Eyes Insight. So if you do that, you get to play Red Eyes Fusion, make Meteor Black, send a bunch of cards, then activate Red Eyes Insight, sending another card, setting up a really powerful grave, and grabbing Return of Red Eyes. This means if you have any ability to get a Red Eyes to your side of the field, which the whole deck is good at doing, then you're able to start chaining Red Eyes Black Flare Metal Dragons together, which usually is enough to win the game. So we're playing 3 copies of Red Eyes Black Dragon, and if you don't use this art, you're a heretic. 1 copy of the best Red Eyes, which doesn't synergize well with all these stupid level 7 cards. 3 copies of Red Eyes Black Flare Dragon, which is basically Red Eyes number 2. He also has the added ability of normal summoning to get a sweet burn effect that you actually end up doing a whole lot of the time just because you don't really use your normal summon a lot of your turns after the first one. 2 copies of Red Eyes Meteor Dragon. This card's fine. I don't like it, but it's there to be sent off of Red Eyes Fusion. I was playing 1, and you can have it recur by using Blackstone of Legend shenanigans, but I feel more safe just playing 2. 1 copy of Red Eyes Wyvern. This card's bad, but, you know, sometimes you open up a hand of a bunch of Red Eyes and like a Dragon Ravine, and this at least makes sure that you're able to summon one of those from your graveyard at the end of the turn. 3 copies of Black Metal Dragon. This card is actually alright. Really pumps your Red Eyes to the point where they get over almost anything in the format, but also has the added benefit of giving them this like weird pseudo protection where your opponent doesn't want to kill them because you get a Red Eyes spell, and if you do get a Red Eyes spell, then you are in the clear. 3 copies of Blackstone of Legend. This card is probably good enough. I mean, it's so slow, but it is also powerful. 3 copies of Allure of Darkness. I mean, we're playing this because our entire monster lineup is dark for the most part. I think there's one guy who is not a target. 3 copies of Red Eyes Fusion. This card's incredible. 3 copies of Return of the Dragon Lords. This card is also incredible. 2 copies of Cards of the Red Stone. This hasn't been dead yet, but I could see it potentially being dead. I would never play more than 2 of them. I just don't think the deck can support it. 3 copies of Terraforming. This card's great for our Dragon Ravine, and when we use Dragon Ravine, we fill up our graveyard in order to enable sweet graveyard plays, another thing that Foolish Burial does pretty well. Then we have 3 copies of Red Eyes Insight. This is part of our really sweet combo, but also is pretty flexible because it allows us to get one of 3 or 4 really powerful spell or traps. 2 copies of Twin Twister to dump a bunch of bad cards from our hand and also be Twin Twister, and then the really good spell or traps. We have 1 copy of Red Eyes Spirit in order to get back our Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, and 1 copy of Return of Red Eyes so we can chain together Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragons. In the extra, we got 3 copies of Falling Meteor Black Dragon, 1 copy of Hope Harbinger Titanic Buster Blaster Blader. We'll never play this card. 3 copies of Felgrand, same thing. 1 copy of Alessi, same thing. 3 copies of Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon, the hallmark of the deck. This is what we're going into 99.9% of the time. The other 1% we go into Big Eye, which enables getting over problem monsters. Dracosac is also in here because he's Dracosac. Then for our 6s, we have Ptolemy, Photon Strike Bouncer, and Hieratic Dragon King of Atum. This only happens if you get out 2 meteors, but I don't see that happening very often. And then one Slacker Magician in a terrible scenario where we have normal summons, some black stones, and some black metals. So let's jump into the games and see what happens. Now, because we're on YGO Pro, our first game is up against a very good deck playing Token Thanksgiving. The duelist is actually called Token Duelist, so I assume this is like his Battle City or something. We've opened 2 Insights and a Fusion. This is weird. I want to get Red Eye's Spirit because I know Insight is always going to be able to get me the Red Eye's card I really want, but Insight's good in order to reborn the Darkness Metal and extend our plays. We get Defense Drought on turn 1. I have no idea what's going on here, but he has a bunch of cards in his hand and he hasn't set anything. I don't play around Gores, which actually seems like a pretty good thing to do about here, but before we do anything else, we're going to start making Red Eye's Black Metal Dragons. Here's one. We have a Return of the Dragon Lord, so we can make a second and also get the added benefit of another Red Eyes on our side of the field. Then we can fill up our graveyard a little bit and start attacking. Unfortunately, we attack first with Meteor, which means he's going to get a sweet Gores token we can't interact with. We are going to burn him for 1,000 when it's summoned and when he uses its effect. This means that he's effectively dead. I mean, we can just engineer a way to burn him out with a Black Flare Dragon, but in the meantime, he's going to walk over my Flare Metal Dragon, make a Tricky, and end his turn. At the end of the turn, I'm going to go ahead and get Flare Dragon back. Then I'm going to use these 2 7s to go into Big Eye, and then at that point, the game is completely over. So slowly we're working our way up to better decks. Our opponent here is playing some kind of Heroes build that includes things like Brotherhood of the Firefist Bear, and like every good Brotherhood player, he has drawn all 3 copies of Bear and no copies of Tanky. Really always what you want to see. We've once again drawn Fusion and Insight, which is great! Let's start off by making Meteor Black Dragon. We'll send Flare Dragon this time because the goal is to go for the Red Eyes Insight. We're going to set Foolish Burial as well. I don't know, maybe he's playing MST. He's going to go ahead and make a rank 4, and I'm like, Silent Honor Arc? Shit! Well, actually, Return of Red Eyes only works if you have a Red Eyes monster on your side of the field, and I don't, so I can't. However, I do draw Fusion, and I also draw a way to get a Red Eyes back, so I'm feeling pretty good about this. First, we're going to go ahead and attack in. Unfortunately, if you use Fusion, you can't summon for the rest of the turn, so we're going to be able to Gospel of Revival next turn. He destroys Meteor Buster Blaster, which means we can get a Red Eyes back, which turns on a Return of Red Eyes, so we can make a whole bunch of guys. He Nordens into a bunch of defensive monsters and ends his turn. I figure this game is completely over. We're going to start off with Return of Red Eyes, getting back our vanilla Red Eyes, go into Flare Metal, and you've seen this before. Time to start chaining these Flare Metals together. 1, a 2, a Scooby-Doo. Here comes the Meteor Black Dragon. Hilariously can be brought back with Return of the Dragon Lords, and we are going to get in for a fat lethal. All right, I can hear you typing already. I know you're doing it. You're going to say, Joseph, where's the meta? I don't know. This is what was on YGO Pro when I was doing this video. This guy is playing Summoned Lord Exodia, which I'm actually really excited to actually see someone play. But he's also playing some other cards as well. We're going to go ahead and open up Fusion and Insight like a complete sack. We're going to go ahead and, as always, make sure we can start using our Return of Red Eyes in order to bust them out. We also have a Twin Twister, which is sweet. I see the Choco Magician Girl, and I'm like, here comes Dark Magicians, and then I see him discard right leg, and I'm like, okay, here comes something. So we're going to go ahead and target with our Return of Red Eyes. He has a Twin Twister, which is bad for us, but sends Exodia Summon Lord, and I'm like, well, now how are we supposed to play this game? Come on. So I go ahead and get my Black Flare Dragon back, because if you destroy Return of Red Eyes, you get to do that. He's going to use Choco Magician Girl's effect, and I'm like, what? There's nothing in the graveyard he can get. He can't get Summon Lord Exodia. Well, turns out the leg is a spellcaster. That's still fine. I'm going to get the burn effect, which is probably good enough, and it counts original attack, so that's sweet. I'm going to Foolish this Blackstone of Legend in order to get myself a little bit of repeatability in later turns. He polys the last 2 cards in his hand for Thousand Eyes Restrict, and I'm like, what the fuck kind of Pegasus shit is this? I actually don't know if I have an out. Look, it's a 3,500 monster that I can't attack. I guess Big Eye isn't out. Flare Metal specials aren't either. I mean, so we're going to make Red Eyes Wyvern. I figure next turn I'll probably just get back Blackstone of Legend. So if he destroys this, I can special summon at my end step. He decides not to destroy it. I'm like, all right, fusion time. Let's do 1,400. So now he's within like a couple of good thresholds that involve burning him out or burning him out with, like, Flare Metal. I mean, we got options. So he's going to go ahead and destroy my Meteor Black Dragons, and then he's going to suck up my Meteor Dragon. That's good for me because 1800 means I can basically just stand on a 2400 attack guy. I'm going to go ahead and make Big Eye and take this young man, and then attack in. And here's the Twin Twister targeting the own equip spell. Oh no! This means he can't really summon any monsters for the rest of the game, but it also means I'm kind of screwed because this is the only monster that can attack. Now, far be it from me to read the cards in my hand and recognize I contribute it for Meteor Dragon. That'll happen next turn, but for the time being, I can only attack in with a 0 attack monster. Finally, I recognize that I have lethal in my hand. It's not hard to find, I'm just bad, and we get in and wrap this sucker up. So we're back with a deck. I mean, it really tore through those tier 1 meta threats, right? Token Stampede and Polymerize into Thousand Eyes Restrict. I don't know, call me crazy. I think this deck is alright. At the very least, it is consistent, which is more than I can say of Red Eyes in the past. It does one thing, but it does it pretty well, and that thing is fusion summoning Meteor Black Comet Dragon. However, this card isn't particularly good. It's fine. It has, like, pseudo-protection in that your opponent doesn't want to destroy it, but when you think of cards in the format, there's so many ways to just get over this guy. There's so many ways to banish him. There's so many ways to just shut off everything, and in a format where Tree Toad is everywhere, Darklaw is everywhere, ABCs are everywhere. It really sucks to be playing stuff that relies on the graveyard, relies on not getting banished from the monster card zone, and relies on a power play that, by all objective measures, is not particularly powerful. Despite that, I had a lot of fun with the deck, and if any of the tribal monsters ever go down, I might build it in paper, but, don't hold your breath. So that's that. I hope you enjoyed that Joey versus Pegasus duel at the very end. I hope you enjoyed my biting attempts at political satire, and most of all, I hope you just enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to give me a like, a comment, or subscribe. It really helps me out. And if you want to see me play the decks I make on this show on stream, I am streaming on Twitch every Tuesday and Thursday from 9:30 a.m. to noon. Links are in the description. And finally, if you want to see a certain deck or archetype played on a future episode of this show, let me know in the comments below and I will see what I can do for you. Otherwise, I will see you on Friday.